Hey, Matt Lachlan here. You may have already seen our short video with Jan Leaf where she talked a bit about her career in real estate. In this longer uncut version, we're going to ask Jan to talk about not only how she got into real estate and thinks about the business, her success tips, but get to know her at a much more personal level about some of the nonprofits she's involved with in town, her family, her husband, her background. So I hope if you know Jan, you're going to get to know her better. I hope you enjoy. Where are you from? Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Salmon, Idaho.
Oh, see,
Little tiny town.
yeah.
My dad was a forest ranger, and so we moved 11 times in 22 years.
Wow.
So we were in Mackay, Chalice, Salmon, May, Idaho. I would have been born there, but it was too small for a doctor. So on the Pacific.
What, all in Idaho? All the moves were in Idaho?
We lived in Utah for 1 year and then came back when I was really little.
Yeah.
And then we went to, when I was 13, we moved to Marin County, just north of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And my dad was in the regional office there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you got to California.
Yep.
That's unusual, small town Idaho to Marin County.
Yeah, well, we actually, we stopped via Susanville, Lassen County for 3 years, and then we ended up in Bay.
So tell us about, do you have a lot of siblings? You graduated high school in Marin?
I did.
Yeah.
I met my husband in high school.
You did?
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
37 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah.
No.
You get an award for that. So you met your husband in high school, and then where'd you go from there?
I went to Chico State to go to, and I had several different majors. I kept changing my mind. I was the third daughter. Everything I wanted to do, my dad thought was genius. Everything they wanted to do, he was like, really? So, yeah. So it was pretty easy, and I ended up hitting a tree at 55 miles an hour. So I had to I had to move back with my parents and heal and learn, do other stuff. And so I ended up at Sonoma, finished up in Sonoma.
Okay.
But I had an international business minor and a Spanish minor and a business degree. Well, I started out as a headmaster at a boarding school up in the Tahoe area, and every 3 weeks we did a major hiking, backpacking trip. And so we did that the first 3 years, and then once we had our first child, we thought, maybe it's time for us to do something different. So we were owned by the University of Pacific, and so it was awesome. It was an awesome start to our marriage because we moved away from our parents, which was good. Nobody was telling us what to do.
Adventurous career.
Yep. So we skied every weekend for 3 years. My husband got his bus license, and he drove this 35 passenger bus, and I would take the truck ahead of him with 3 good kids that were strong, and I had all the skis and 1 snowboard, because it was. And so we skied at Tahoe every weekend.
Oh, wonderful.
And it was like, we'll take the kids, no problem, because they paid for if we took them, then they paid for our tickets. Yeah. So by the time he got there with the bus, then I would say, the kids would get off the bus and all their skis would be out of the truck, and I'd say, I'll see you at 4, see you at 4, see you at 4. And so it was great life. And then when I went back, we went to back down to the Bay Area, I was closing escrows.
Oh,
so I did that at California Land Title.
Yeah, that was it. So
Yeah.
You were familiar with real estate from
Yep.
that side of things?
Yeah.
At the time Craig was teaching?
Uh-huh. Yeah, he taught for 40 years.
Yeah.
He retired last year.
When did you move to North Idaho?
And we came when our kids were 3 and 6, so in '92.
What
And so,
inspired that?
well, we had been, finally I got him to be traveling up here. We'd been traveling up here on our breaks, on summer breaks, and he was in a group of teachers. There were about 45 to 60 teachers that had all started at the same time that would get RIF notices on March 15th, say, thanks for teaching this year, we won't need you next year, yada, yada, yada. And so we would be up here and he'd be rehired somewhere, you know. And we said, this is not going towards, you know, retirement. It was just, it was ridiculous. So we took so we moved up here with no jobs. It was a big leap of faith. And he was hired, you know, he would always get rehired in August. He got hired at the end of June in the Coeur d'Alene School District.
And then he finished his career.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so then I worked my first year for CPA, my brother-in-law up here. And then I thought, you know, and I had actually thought, I'll come up here. I even went to I did go to one title company. It'll remain unmentioned, but they had just put in a new system for doing their escrows that I had just finished helping program 420 documents and closing escrows at the same time. It was crazy. And I went there and talked to him, and I walked out and said, wait a minute, you wanted to change your life. I don't want to go to work in the dark and come home in the dark. But we found out that I'm a workaholic and it didn't matter where I worked. So I actually, after that first year, there was a gal who put in an espresso hut in Post Falls, and she was homeschooling her kids there. She'd had it open for about a month and a half, and I purchased it from her. And so on January 3rd, 1993, I was having an anxiety attack at 5 in the morning because here was this new career. And I was also doing books for a couple of restaurants here, so that I didn't, you know, my main thing was I didn't want to start something that I didn't trust that whole thing. So you always had to do two things.
So the espresso hut business grew considerably, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many locations?
I had 2. I ended up with 2, but I got kickbacks from several because if they bought my blend, because I had a Java the Hut blend. So, yeah.
And when we spoke earlier, that's when there's a couple things where it seemed to me you really discovered your joy of just business, like sales and business.
Oh, yeah.
People. Like what did you do differently? What about that did you enjoy most running that business?
I always wanted to keep it light. You know, we would have crazy, you know, daily. I mean, I have a couple of the espresso huts now that have my list and all my drinks, because we would have, you know, every Christmas Eve my drink of the day was Fleas on the Dog. And people would go, what's that? And I go, well, that's what I thought they were saying. Feliz Navidad. Or Topless Blind Date on a Leash. You know, I was like, what's in your, you know, well, I topless because I'm not going to put as much foam on it. Blind because I've got a secret ingredient, but I'll only tell you. Then it's vanilla. And then date is a tamarindo date syrup. And the only reason why I did that is because I bought this tamarind syrup, which was kind of funky, so we needed to use it. And on a leash meant get the hell out of here. Sorry. Get out of here. I got people behind you. Anyway, and so we just kept it light. But I think actually, I mean, my grandfather was a salesman, big time.
Yeah, that you had to have gotten to know a lot of people in town doing that.
Yeah, I think at one time I probably could have been mayor of Post Falls.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I still get people, I'll have somebody call me and they'll say, my daughter told me to call you, you know, because I'm looking for a house, we're moving up here. And we saw you in one of the magazines, and she said, you need to call Jan, she was my coffee lady.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so I mean, I sold in 2006.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You sold the espresso hut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me segue into a question about that. You've consistently been among, right in the top 50 producers, right up there year to year for several years. How would you characterize the key to that, the key to your success, to consistently being among the top group?
When I started being in the top, the market had tanked, and I had 2 kids in college. And so I had to make my business. I have friends that were in my office that would come to me on Monday and say, "Oh, it's so slow. What do you know, isn't it slow?" And I'm thinking, yeah, it's slow. But I also didn't see them at the office on Saturday and Sunday. And that's when you have to crank it up. I mean, a lot of those seeds that I planted are still being sown back in 2010, 11.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
You mentioned that to me, that your car would always be seen in the parking lot on a weekend morning. That you just stayed consistent with the.
Yeah. Well, I woke up to the fact that I had a child that, I mean, I had 2 kids in college. One was at a private school, even though he had, I mean, in Division III. I mean, he went to play football, but you don't get scholarships for Division III. You get it for your brains, which is good because he got mono, that first year. So I just had to put my head down, and at that point, I had been in the business long enough where it was okay to call friends and family and see how they're doing. But I think consistently, I've sent out a newsletter 257 months.
Wow.
Never missed. Oh, I missed one this year.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Probably because of the death I think it was a death in the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, consistency. What?
And I thought when I started it, well, we'll do this 2 or 3 years, but or 2 or 3 months. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. Every single marketing class you've ever taken, you just have to be consistent and just go for it. And so I make calls, I send letters, handwritten, keep up with the people. I think the most challenging is, well, I don't know, there's a lot of different challenges. But I think right now the challenge is that we just don't have enough inventory. I mean, but that's just a marketing supply and demand deal. I think the most challenging, even if there's enough to go around, is just getting other realtors to realize that our job is not to be contentious. Our job, we have the same goal in mind. Our job is that we're the ones that can keep everybody calm. And there's more than one way to skin a cat. You can fix anything. Period. I mean, but that has been the toughest, is just the other people that you work with.
Yeah.
Not really realizing it.
The variability of that.
And I think some of them get too caught up in how much they're going to make on a deal, and then they don't have any bending whatsoever. I buy a home warranty for all my people, unless it's a brand new home. And sometimes I buy it for a brand new home. I have one now that's being built, and they're not going to give it's a custom build, and they don't give as big of a warranty. And I'm thinking, well, it's worth it for me, because then I can sleep. I had 2 people get furnaces last year for $100. Hello.
Wonderful.
I'm their hero.
Yeah.
And now I'm selling their family. And I think people get caught up with, I'm not going to sell a trailer. I thought when I got in here, I'm not going to sell any manufactured homes. And I thought, what? You should. And here's the deal. That little old lady that has the trailer on a rented lot, you treat her the same as your $1.5 million client, because those kids of hers might have one on the water, and they'll remember how you treated their mom. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. How about the most rewarding? What do you find most rewarding?
Okay, so the most rewarding, I would say, I mean, obviously the money is great, but that is so minor. When I stopped worrying about what I was going to make, it all fell into place. And the most rewarding is that I'm able to do not just, because I do a lot of volunteer work, so not just my time, but now I can give money too.
For people who know you and would love to hear an update on What are your grown children up to? Where are they in the world?
My oldest son, Jake, is in Lewis, Delaware. He got marketing and finance degrees at U of I, and we wanted him to go into chemistry and physics because that was his forte, and he went to college with advanced placement in those, but because mom and dad wanted that, he's like, no.
Yeah.
Now he is using his chemistry
Oh, wow.
because he's one of the brewmasters at Dogfish Head.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. And then his wife is a publicist out of New York, so now she's working out of the house, but on a healthy environment, she goes 3 days a week. She'll be in New York 3 days a week.
And where's your daughter?
I don't have a daughter. My other son, Trevor, is in Portland, and he came home from Willamette University and told us he was an art major, which totally gave us a heart attack.
Every parent's dream.
Yeah, and I oh my gosh, but he uses his art. He does all the top sheets for some custom powder skis, O and 3P, and he helps run the factory.
Yeah, so he got the skiing bug from his youth.
Yeah, he was a ski racer.
Yeah,
we did a lot of skiing, that was our biggest worry is when we gave him a little mini lesson at 3 and 4 or 3 and 6, and we were worried that one would like it and one wouldn't. Then what do you do?
Yeah.
So they both loved it.
That's great.
We did ski racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about your team today.
Okay, so my team today, my sister Julie was moving from California and was going to help with my mom. Not that my mom needed help at the time, but it was better for us so that we could have some flexibility and go, because we were traveling every weekend to go watch football in Oregon. We flew into Portland every Saturday morning, rented a car, went to the Howard Johnsons, and went to the football games, and then came home on Sundays. So she's worked with me for 14 years. Yeah, my oldest sister. I've been her boss since I was 3.
That's great.
Yeah, I have a lot on my sisters.
And your husband's in the mix sometimes too.
Yeah, my husband actually does a lot of maintenance stuff for me, and he's built little stairs when I knew I had a VA loan coming through, and we just said this is not going to pass.
Yeah.
Just try to save them a little bit money with their appraisal. And Stacy Leach in my office, she's helped me a lot this year with Washington, but she's got an accounting degree, and she's been her own agent for a while, and so we were in the same office. And
Partnered up.
yep,
Yeah. Wonderful.
yeah. And then I've got Bob Stipek. He helps me with if ever I have outlying area ones where I just don't want to drive to Rose Lake every day.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
Yeah. Well, you're supposed to do, you're supposed to do this every year.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people do this, but I used to go, okay, this is how many, they first, when you're first an agent, they teach you to look at what do you think your average sales price is going to be? What is your commission going to be? So how many do you need to do? In order to turn that, how many people do you need to talk to this month? And do it and back it out. But I've started doing it the opposite way, because now I go, how much money do I want to give to an organization? Or how much time do I want to give? I've got, three things that hit my heart, and that is the homeless, the elderly, and the kids. So, Children's Village and CASA are near and dear to my heart. Elder help. I mean, have you ever gone and split wood with them?
I have, yeah, with Mr. Corcoran. Yeah.
And they do a great job. I mean, and it's only 3 hours out of your life on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I help run the outreach committee for the Coeur d'Alene Association of Realtors. And I've been involved with that for about 5 years, I think.
Wonderful.
So
you flip it to how much
do I want to give? How much travel do I want to do? Where I want to go? How much is that going to cost me? What is it going to cost me where I don't have to worry about, hey, I see something in Istanbul or I see something in Prague that I want to buy, and not worry about it. So,
yeah,
and then back in.
The numbers are meaningful then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like those last remarks in terms of that, and then I could feel the emotion behind Jan when she talked about those three stories.
I do a luncheon, and I've missed it this year because I had to quit it because of COVID. But I do a luncheon every month for the singles in my church.
Oh, neat.
So.
You have your heart for people
Yeah.
radiated.
Well, when I did, we used to do all the kids things every Wednesday, but get them feed them dinner, and then they go to their classes. But when my kids graduated, and I thought, now what am I going to do? Well, let's look for the elderly, and it's great because they come. We have a little half hour of happy hour. They get to mingle, and then we serve them as if they're in a restaurant.